Cardi B just got dragged into the pettiest internet war of the year. And wait until you hear what this woman did while wearing Cardi B's exact outfit from head to toe. No, seriously. Same hair, same nails, same boots, same everything. And the craziest part? She did it to promote a diss track aimed at a billion-dollar corporation that Cardi B just signed with. You cannot make this up. And if you think that's messy, hold on, because Cardi B might have also accidentally leaked her newborn baby's name the same way she leaked Blossom's name. And the internet detectives have already cracked the code. Plus, Trippie Redd just went nuclear on Twitter claiming Coi Leray is keeping his baby away from him, and the hashtag he used has lawyers talking. We have 3 full-blown situations exploding at the same time, and by the end of this video you're going to have to pick a side, because everybody else already has. Let's get into it, starting with the woman who has decided that Cardi B is going to notice her whether Cardi B likes it or not. So for anybody who somehow missed the first chapter of this saga, let me catch you up real quick, because context is everything here. A couple of weeks back, Samara jumped online and went all the way in on Old Navy for partnering with Cardi B. She wasn't just a little critical. She made a whole production out of it. She was walking through stores, questioning employees who, let's be honest, have absolutely nothing to do with corporate marketing decisions, demanding to know why the plus-size section disappeared from the sales floor and why the brand's size-inclusive messaging doesn't match what's actually hanging on the racks. She brought up the old body equality campaign, the photo booths, the whole nine. She said if you're going to host live streams bragging about size inclusivity, then why do the plus-size models stop at a size 18 when the clothes go up to a size 30? Why are there no plus-size mannequins? Why did the plus sizes get pulled from stores in the first place? Now listen, on paper, some of those questions are fair. A lot of plus-size women have had those exact frustrations for years. That part is not the problem. The problem is what happened next, because somewhere along the way, this stopped being about the clothes and started being about Cardi B. And that's where everybody's eyebrows went up. Because after that first wave of videos, Cardi actually responded. And Cardi B did not respond with a press statement or a publicist-written paragraph. Cardi responded the way only Cardi B responds. She said, and I'm paraphrasing the energy here, that she doesn't bother anybody for real, but trying to take money out of her pockets is like taking chicken nuggets out of her kids' mouths. And when it comes to her coins, she becomes a whole demon. Then she told her to move around. That was it. That was the whole warning. One post, one chicken nugget analogy, and the internet lost its collective mind. Most people, after a response like that from someone on Cardi's level, would take the hint, post their little follow-up, collect their views, and go home. A normal person treats that as the peak of the moment. You got the attention. You got the headlines. You got Cardi B herself acknowledging your existence, which, let's be real, is more than most people ever get. You ride that wave, and you pivot. Samara did not pivot. Instead, this woman came back weeks later wearing the exact outfit Cardi wore in the Old Navy campaign. And I do not mean a similar outfit. I do not mean the same vibe. I mean the same silhouette, the same color story, the same styling choices, the same everything, right down to the shoes that the internet has already nicknamed with their own nicknames. She recreated the look piece by piece, and then she used that look to promote a diss track. A diss track against Old Navy, a clothing store. She's beefing with a retail chain in a song, dressed as the face of the campaign she's mad about. And the moment that video hit the timeline, the reaction was immediate, and it was brutal. People were not confused about what they were watching. The word that started trending in the comments within the hour was obsessed. Obsessed. Not advocacy. Not activism. Not speaking truth to power. Obsessed. Because the sequence of events, when you lay them out next to each other, is hard to defend. First, criticize the brand for working with Cardi B. Then, get a response from Cardi. Then, instead of letting it breathe, dress up exactly like Cardi B in the very campaign you trashed and drop a diss track about it. At a certain point, the cause starts looking like a costume, and the real mission starts looking like attention. The commentary channels wasted no time. One creator said it plain. This is giving obsessed, and at this point, it's giving she's the bully. Another one pointed out the funniest part of the whole thing, which is that Samara went after Old Navy over a comment. A comment. The brand responded to somebody under a post with a gif of her, and she took that as a declaration of war. She screenshotted it, posted it, and said, "Oh, you trying to be funny? Bet. Bet what exactly? What is the bet? This is a multi-billion-dollar corporation with a legal department the size of a small city. What exactly is the plan here?" One commentator said it best. Your daddy from the Ninth Ward is not about to shut down Old Navy. Cardi is not checking for you, and Old Navy's lawyers are definitely not checking for you. And here's where it gets sad, because when you actually scroll through the comments under Samara's own video, she was getting clowned. Not debated. Not respectfully disagreed with. Clowned. memed, ratioed into another dimension. And one of the commentators made a point that deserves a moment, because it's the smartest thing anybody said about this whole situation. She said that if she ever got that kind of negative reaction from something she was doing, it would make her sit down and rethink her choices. Because Samara has more eyes on her right now than she has ever had in her career. This is the most visible she has ever been. And instead of converting that visibility into something real, she's turning herself into the punchline of the week. Think about that for a second. If the cause is really size inclusivity, if that's genuinely the mission, then this moment was a golden ticket. The whole internet was watching. That was the moment to announce a plus-size line. That was the moment to partner with a brand that actually stocks the sizes. That was the moment to build something. People asked it directly, where's your clothing line? Where's the contribution to the actual issue you're so passionate about that you're willing to walk into stores and quiz employees who just clocked in for a shift? Because there are plus-size women out here doing exactly that, advocating and modeling and building at the same time, and they're getting somewhere with it. The difference is approach. And right now, the approach on display is diss tracks and costume recreations, and the industry is watching that too. That's the part people keep trying to get across, and it's not hate. Nobody is saying Samara doesn't have a point buried somewhere under all of this. What they're saying is that the way she's moving is going to cost her. Brands watch everything. The same industry she's demanding a seat from is watching her troll Cardi B, declare war on a comment section GIF, and drop music about a clothing store, and they're taking notes. One commentator said it flat out. People are not going to want to work with her, not because of her size, not because of the advocacy, but because of how she conducts herself online when things don't go her way. You don't have to love that reality, but it is the reality. And here's a detail that really ties the whole thing in a bow. Samara used to shop at Old Navy. There's history there. She was a customer. Back in 2022, she was in those aisles like everybody else. So this isn't some long-standing principled boycott. This is recent. And a lot of people think they know exactly what changed, and what changed has a name, and the name is Cardi. The theory making the rounds is that the moment Cardi B signed with the brand became the enemy. That the inclusivity argument, as real as the underlying issue is, became the vehicle for something a lot more personal. And when your critics can draw a straight line from Cardi's partnership announcement to your outrage, the outfit recreation just confirms what they already suspected. Now, there's one more layer to this that I have to address, because her supporters bring it up every single time, and it's only fair to lay it out. Some people in her corner say this all started because of a joke Cardi B made that they considered fatphobic. And the receipts on that are a little more complicated than the retelling. According to people who were actually in the space where it happened, the joke came in response to her own fans joking first about a shirt size, inside a private fan community that the public was never supposed to see. It only went public when it got screenshotted and spread, and by the time it hit the open internet, the context was gone and the outrage was loaded. Was it a great look for Cardi? People can debate that, and they absolutely do, every day. But debating a months-old private joke is one thing. Building an entire content identity around antagonizing Cardi B is something else entirely, and that's the line people keep pointing at. Meanwhile, and this is the part that should worry Samara more than any diss track response ever could, Old Navy hasn't said a mumbling word. Not one. No statement. No clapback. No cease and desist making the rounds. They responded one time, with a GIF, and then went right back to selling cargo shorts. The silence is the loudest thing in the room. Because a corporation ignoring you while you swing at them in full costume is a message all by itself. It says you are not a threat, you are content. And the longer this goes without Cardi responding again, the more it looks like Cardi B landed her one chicken nugget warning and moved on with her life, which, as we'll get to in a minute, is extremely full right now. But before we get to that, I need to know where y'all stand on this, because the comment sections are at war. Is Samara's approach obsessive? Or is she just using the only leverage a regular person has against a giant brand, which is noise? Is dressing up as Cardi a clever troll that forces people to pay attention to the plus-size issue? Or did the issue get lost the moment the costume came out? Drop it in the comments, because I read them, and this one is split straight down the middle. Now, speaking of Cardi moving on with her extremely full life, let's talk about what else she managed to do this week, possibly without even meaning to, because Cardi B may have just leaked her new baby's name. Again, the same way she did it last time. And once you hear how this keeps happening, you're going to wonder if it's an accident at all. So here's the situation. Cardi posted a photo, nothing crazy, just a regular post. And on her wrist were those custom bracelets she had made with her children's names spelled out in beads. Culture, Wave, Blossom. And then, right there next to them, a fourth bracelet. A new name. And the name on that bracelet, as clear as the camera could catch it, reads Gray. Or possibly Grayson. The internet is currently split between the two, and the debate is genuinely heated for something based on a beaded bracelet photographed at a distance. Now, if this feels like déjà vu, that's because it is literally déjà vu. This is exactly how the world found out about Blossom. When Cardi B gave birth to her third child, she didn't do a name reveal post or a magazine exclusive. She just wore bracelets with the kids' names, and people zoomed in, and the name Blossom was sitting right there on her wrist, and that was the announcement. The bracelet was the press release. And the wild part is what happened after. Shortly after the bracelet did its rounds, Cardi started actually showing Blossom. First the name slipped, then the baby followed. It was like a soft launch sequence, and whether it was planned or not, it worked beautifully, because by the time we saw the baby, the name already felt familiar. So now we've got a fourth bracelet saying Gray, and the same pattern is loading up right in front of us. People are already asking the obvious question. If history repeats the way it did with Blossom, are we weeks away from actually seeing Baby Gray? Is this the soft launch? Is this the Cardi B reveal cycle, name by jewelry first, face by grid post later? Because at this point it's happened twice, and once something happens twice, it's not an accident anymore. It's a tradition. And there's another piece of this puzzle that suddenly makes a lot more sense, and it involves a name that is apparently not the baby's name at all. Cast your mind back to December. Cardi was on Instagram Live, just talking to fans, and somebody in the comments asked, "How's baby Liam doing?" And Cardi B shut that down immediately. Not his name, she said, without even hesitating. And then she explained what Liam actually is, and this is the part that flew over a lot of people's heads at the time. Liam is Stefon Diggs' clothing brand. It stands for living every moment. So the name that half the internet had been calling this baby for weeks was never the baby's name. It was the name of her man's fashion line. And somehow the two got tangled together in the rumor cycle, and nobody could separate them until Cardi separated them herself. Live in real time. That moment tells you a couple of things. 1. Cardi B is watching what people say about her kids' names closely enough to correct it mid-live stream. 2. She corrected Liam in December, but she has not corrected Gray. And that silence is doing a lot of heavy lifting right now. Because when the name was wrong, she fixed it within seconds. Now the name is on her actual wrist, spelled out in beads she commissioned, and the response so far has been nothing. No denial, no clarification, no that's not his name. Just the bracelet, doing what the bracelet does. Which brings us to the Gray versus Grayson debate. And this is where the fanbase has split into camps. Team Gray thinks the name is short, sleek, and matches the single-syllable energy of the family. Team Grayson thinks Gray is the nickname version and the bracelet just used the shorter form because, well, it's a bracelet, beads are real estate. Both sides are zooming into the same 4 pixels and drawing opposite conclusions with total confidence. And honestly, Cardi could end this debate with one post, and the fact that she hasn't is either the most accidental thing ever or the most deliberate rollout disguised as an accident that we've ever seen. There's a real argument that this is actually genius-level attention management, whether intentional or not. Think about what a traditional celebrity baby name reveal costs and what it returns. You sell the exclusive, you get 1 news cycle, maybe 2, and it's over. But the bracelet method? The bracelet method generates weeks of speculation, fan investigations, zoomed screenshots, side-by-side comparisons, and a full debate arc, all for the price of some custom beads. And every single day of that speculation, the name Cardi B is in headlines without Cardi having to say a word. Then when the reveal finally comes, it lands on an audience that has been preheated for weeks. If that's an accident, it's the most profitable accident in the game. And if it's not an accident, then somebody in that household understands the attention economy at a doctoral level. But okay, I want to hear from y'all on this one too. Do we think the bracelet leak is genuinely accidental, like Cardi B just threw on her jewelry and didn't think about the cameras? Or do we think this is the soft launch strategy and we're all participants in a rollout we didn't know we RSVP'd to? And while you're down there, settle the real debate, Gray or Grayson. Because one of these camps is going to be insufferable when the official name drops, and I need to know which one of y'all I'm arguing with in the comments next week. Now, while Cardi is out here accidentally revealing baby names through accessories, there's another baby situation blowing up, and this one is not cute at all. This one is ugly. It's public, and it involves Trippie Redd, Coi Leray, their baby, and a hashtag that suggests lawyers are already involved. And let's be real about something else that nobody in this conversation wants to say out loud. There is a version of this strategy that actually works, and we've watched it work for other people. The internet rewards conflict. It rewards audacity. It rewards the person willing to say the thing nobody else will say. Samara clearly understands that part of the machine, because everything she has done this month has been engineered for maximum reaction, and the reactions have come by the truckload. But there's a difference between weaponizing attention and being consumed by it. The creators who turn controversy into careers always have a second act ready. They get the eyes, and then they immediately show you the product, the talent, the thing that justifies the noise. The ones who don't have a second act just have to keep escalating the first one, louder and stranger every time, until the audience isn't watching the fight anymore. They're watching the meltdown. And when you look at the trajectory from store walk thrusts to corporate diss tracks to full costume recreations of Cardi B's campaign look, it's fair to ask which of those two paths we're watching. Because the cruelest irony in this whole saga is that Cardi is the worst possible target for this strategy. There is nobody in the industry more practiced at absorbing public attacks and converting them into fuel. Cardi B built an entire empire while being counted out, clowned, and underestimated at every stage. A diss track aimed at her brand deal is not a threat to Cardi. It is, at best, free promotion for the campaign. Every video Samara makes about the Old Navy partnership reminds the internet that the Old Navy partnership exists. She's running an unpaid ad campaign for the exact collaboration she's trying to protest, and the metrics don't care about her intentions. That's the part that makes this so hard to watch. And it's all flowing directly into the engagement numbers of the person she's trying to wound. Now, before we go any further, I need to slow down for a second, because there's a detail buried in this whole Cardi B and Old Navy saga that almost nobody is talking about, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Go back and look at the timeline again. Samara's very first video, the one that started all of this, was framed as advocacy. It was about the racks, the sizes, the mannequins, the missing plus section. But watch what happens to the subject of each video after that. Every follow-up drifts further from the store and closer to the woman. By the time we get to the outfit recreation, the store is basically a prop. The racks are gone, the mannequins are gone, the size 30 question is gone. And what's left is a woman standing in a copy of Cardi's campaign look, performing a song about a corporation for an audience that is almost entirely there to see whether Cardi B will respond. That drift is the whole story, because it proves what the critics have been saying from the beginning. The cause was the door in, but the celebrity was always the destination. There was a timeline where Samara took the biggest spotlight of her career and pointed it at the issue. Instead, she pointed it at Cardi, and the spotlight did what spotlights do. It showed everybody exactly where her attention really lives. And since we're talking about attention and where it lives, let's be honest about what happens next if Cardi B stays silent, because I think that's exactly what Cardi is going to do. Cardi B has been in this exact position more times than we can count. Somebody builds a moment around her name. The internet demands a response, and then Cardi has to decide whether the response is worth the oxygen. And here's the calculation she's making right now. I'd bet money on it. The first response was necessary because the first attack came for her pockets. That chicken nugget line wasn't just funny, it was a boundary. You can say what you want about me, but you don't come for my money or my kids. The outfit recreation, as obsessive as it looks, doesn't cross that line. So the smart play, the Cardi B play, is to let it rot in the sun. No response means no cycle. No cycle means the diss track lands in front of an audience that's already laughing. While Samara is spending money on studio time to get Cardi's attention, Cardi B is breaking the algorithm with a handful of beats. One of them is working overtime for attention, and one of them is not working at all. And one more thing about this baby name situation that I keep turning over in my head, because it says a lot about where celebrity culture is right now. We are watching the death of the official announcement happen in real time. There was an era where a baby name reveal was a magazine cover, a negotiated exclusive, a whole production with publicists and embargoes. That era is gone. What replaced it is exactly what we're watching on Cardi's wrist, the breadcrumb economy. A bracelet here, a live stream correction there, a denial issued for the wrong name, and total silence on the right one. Every crumb is deniable, every crumb is cheap, and every crumb keeps the machine fed for another week. And the audience isn't even mad about being managed this way. The debate between Gray and Grayson isn't a bug in the rollout, it is the rollout. By the time the confirmation comes, everyone will have argued about it, picked a team, and emotionally invested in being right, which means the confirmation post is guaranteed to detonate no matter what it says. Say what you want about Cardi B, but whether this is strategy or instinct, nobody working in publicity today is doing it better than a woman with a handful of beaded bracelets and the discipline to say absolutely nothing. So let's get into it. Trippie Redd took to Twitter this week, and he did not mince a single word. He put out a post telling the world that Coi Leray will not let him see his baby. And he ended that post with a hashtag that turned a sad situation into a legal one. Hashtag NDA. 3 letters. That's all it took for the entire conversation to shift, because you don't invoke an NDA unless paperwork exists, And if paperwork exists, lawyers are already in the picture. And if lawyers are already in the picture, then this stopped being a social media disagreement a long time ago. People read that hashtag and immediately started predicting the courtroom, because that's where this road usually ends when one parent goes public with an access complaint and tags it like a legal exhibit. And it didn't stop with Trippie Redd's own post. One of his fan pages jumped in right behind him and added a detail that made everything messy. The fan page posted words to the effect of, "Don't worry, twin, I can't see the baby either," and claimed that Coi Leray had blocked the fan page entirely. So now it's not just a father saying he's being kept from his child. It's an entire corner of his fan base claiming they've been walled off too, and they're treating a block button like evidence in a court of public opinion. Now, as you can imagine, the internet did what the internet does, which is split into two armed camps, and the dividing line is fascinating, because this isn't splitting along fanbase lines the way these things usually do. This is splitting along a question, and the question is simple. Does being the father mean automatic access, no matter what the history looks like? On one side, you've got people saying he's the father, period, and a father should be able to see his child, full stop, and no court of public opinion should be comfortable with a child being kept from a parent. And listen, as a general principle, a lot of people feel that in their bones. That argument is not nothing. But the other side, and from what I've seen scrolling, the bigger side, is standing with Coi Leray, and they are standing there with receipts. Because if you remember, when Coi Leray was pregnant, she was the one who went public and put Trippie Redd on blast for cheating on her. She posted it herself, on her own Twitter, while carrying his child. That wasn't a rumor somebody dug up later. That was her, in real time, telling the world that the father of her baby had stepped out on her during the pregnancy. And for a huge portion of the people watching this now, that context is everything. Their position is basically this. We don't know what's happening behind closed doors. We don't know what the last year of co-parenting actually looked like. And a woman who was publicly humiliated while pregnant might have reasons we can't see for drawing the boundaries she's drawing. That's the sentiment, and it's loud. And here's the thing that makes this even harder to judge from the outside. The last time Coi Leray spoke publicly about the co-parenting situation, the picture she painted was nothing like what's being described now. She did a podcast appearance alongside her boyfriend, Justin LeBoy, and when the topic of Trippie Redd came up, she described something that sounded, honestly, almost healthy. She talked about keeping the co-parenting relationship peaceful. She talked about how he gets their child, she gets their child, and they try to keep things calm and stable for the baby's sake. That was the version of this story we had. Peaceful, organized, mature. So either something dramatic changed between then and now, or one of these two public versions of reality is not the accurate one. And that's the question hanging over all of this. Because look at the gap between those two pictures. On the podcast, it's peaceful co-parenting with shared time. On Twitter this week, it's a father publicly pleading to see his baby and tagging NDA like a warning shot. Both of those cannot be fully true at the same time. Something happened in the space between those two statements, and whatever it is, neither of them is telling us. And that silence is exactly why the comment sections are doing courtroom roleplay, because when the principals won't give you the facts, the public builds its own out of whatever scraps are lying around. Now, I want to be careful here, and I want y'all to be careful too, because this one is not like the outfit situation. This involves a real child, a real custody reality, and two people's actual lives. And the honest truth is that nobody outside that family knows what the day-to-day looks like. What we can say is what's verifiable. He posted what he posted, the hashtag says what it says, the fan page claimed what it claimed, and Coi Leray, as of this recording, has said absolutely nothing. No response. No denial. No acknowledgement. Her last public posture on this was peace, and she has not moved from it, even while his side of the internet is on fire. And you can read that silence two completely different ways. Either she's above it and letting her lawyers handle a legal matter the way legal matters should be handled, or she's letting the court of public opinion run wild because she knows the full story would back her up if it ever came out. Both readings are alive right now, and until one of them speaks, that's where it stays. But I'll tell you what, if that NDA hashtag means what people think it means, this story is nowhere near finished. Court filings in situations like this have a way of becoming public, and custody disputes between two public figures have a way of becoming seasons, not episodes. So bookmark this one, because I have a strong feeling we're going to be right back here talking about it. So now I need y'all to weigh in on this one too, and be honest with yourselves when you answer. Whose side are you on? And does the cheating history factor into your answer? Or should custody be judged completely separate from the relationship? And the bigger question underneath all of it, when a co-parenting dispute goes legal, does taking it to Twitter first help your case or destroy it? Because right now there are two parents, two strategies, and one baby in the middle, and only one of those strategies involves staying silent. Let me know down below. Now, before we get out of here, I want to zoom all the way out, because when you line these 3 stories up next to each other, they are actually telling one single story, and it's a story about power, attention, and who gets to control a narrative once the internet gets its hands on it. Look at the through line. In the first story, you've got Samara, a creator with a legitimate grievance about size inclusivity, who decided that the fastest route to being heard was to attach herself to Cardi's name. And it worked, technically. She's more famous this month than she's ever been. But look at what the fame is made of. She's not famous for the cause. She's famous for the costume. The grievance got swallowed by the gimmick, and now every time she escalates, the cause gets smaller and the circus gets bigger. Meanwhile, Cardi B, the target of all of it, responded once with a chicken nugget analogy and went back to her life. That's a masterclass in asymmetric warfare, and the asymmetry is the whole lesson. One side is swinging with everything it has, and the other side barely had to move. In the second story, you've got Cardi again, but this time on the other side of the attention machine, and watch how differently she plays it. A name on a bracelet. No statement, no announcement, no exclusive. Just a beaded accessory doing weeks of press for free. Whether it's calculated or genuinely accidental, the effect is the same. She controls the reveal because she controls the timing, and the entire internet does the promotional labor for her. Compare that to how most celebrities lose control of their own announcements, fighting leaks, dodging paparazzi, watching tabloids break their news before they can. Cardi B flipped the whole mechanism. The leak is the launch. The speculation is the campaign. And when she finally confirms Gray or Grayson, or whatever the full name turns out to be, it'll land on an audience that has been leaning forward for weeks. That's not luck repeating itself twice. That's a woman who understands that in 2026, mystery is worth more than announcement. And then the third story, which is the darkest version of the same theme. Trippie Redd lost control of his co-parenting narrative, or maybe never had it. And his response to losing control was to grab the loudest megaphone available and blast his side of it to the world, complete with a legal hashtag. And Coi Leray's response to the same fight has been total silence. One of them is litigating in public. One of them is litigating, presumably, in private. And the court of public opinion, which is fickle and bloodthirsty and wrong as often as it's right, is currently leaning toward the silent one, partly because of the history, and partly because silence reads as confidence, while a public plea reads as desperation, fair or not. All 3 stories, 3 different relationships with public attention, and 3 completely different outcomes, all playing out in the same week. And there's one more uncomfortable truth sitting underneath all 3 of these stories, and it's about us, the audience. Because in every one of these situations, the loudest voices in the comments are absolute. She's obsessed, period. He's a deadbeat, period. She's a gatekeeper, period. Nobody's waiting for the full story, because the full story is boring and the verdict is fun. The truth is every one of these situations has a version of events we haven't heard yet. Samara might genuinely believe she's fighting a righteous fight, and that the costume is the price of admission for getting anyone to care about plus-size shoppers at all. Trippie Redd might genuinely be a father in pain watching months go by without his child. Coi Leray might genuinely be protecting her baby from something the public can't see. Cardi might genuinely just like bracelets. Every one of those things could be true, and the internet has already rendered all 3 verdicts anyway. That's the game now. The narrative belongs to whoever moves fastest and frames hardest, and the facts show up whenever they feel like it. So where does all of this go from here? Let me tell you what I'm watching for, because all 3 of these stories have a next chapter already loading. On the Samara front, the diss track is the tell. She didn't spend studio time and money on a song about Old Navy to let this die quietly. There will be a music video. There will be a rollout. The question is whether Cardi B decides the second response is worth her time, and my gut says it isn't. Cardi said what she said about the chicken nuggets and the coins, and every day Samara spends escalating without a response makes the asymmetry worse. But if Cardi B does respond, if she breaks her one-and-done pattern, that response will be the biggest moment of Samara's career, and everybody watching knows it, including Samara, which might be the entire point. On the baby name front, watch Cardi B's wrist. Literally, if the blossom pattern holds, the bracelet comes first and the baby follows. The moment Cardi B posts Baby Gray or Baby Grayson, we will know the entire sequence was either an accident twice in a row or the most understated rollout strategy in the game. And either way, when that post drops, the debate camps we've got forming right now are going to go absolutely feral. And on the Trippie Redd and Coi Leray front, watch the courts, not the timelines. That NDA hashtag was not decorative. If filings appear, and in these situations they usually do, then every tweet from this week becomes evidence of a strategy, and the court of public opinion gets demoted to the cheap seats where it belongs. The real story there will be told in documents, and documents don't care about fan pages. So now it's your turn, and I mean it, because the comments on these 3 stories are going to be a battlefield. First, Samara and the Cardi B outfit recreation. Obsessed fan behavior dressed up as activism, or the only play a regular person has against a billion-dollar machine. Second, the bracelet. Accidental leak, calculated soft launch, or are we all reading tea leaves off a woman's jewelry? Gray or Grayson? I need your final answers. Third, Trippie Redd versus Coi Leray. Does being the father guarantee access no matter the history, or does the public humiliation during the pregnancy change the math? And does going to Twitter before going to court tell you everything about who's got the stronger case? 3 stories, 3 verdicts, and I want every single one of your takes in the comments, because next week at least one of these is going to detonate again, and when it does, you're going to want to be able to say you called it. And if you think this week was messy, wait until you see what's quietly building between 2 other names I can't fit in this video, because the next one makes this week look like a warm-up. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss that drop. Tap the like button if you made it this far, and I will see you in the next one.